Greetings, trumpet players. Today we're going to talk about the 5 reasons why you need trumpet lessons. First of all, let's clarify something here. This video and most of my other instructional videos is for trumpet players who want to do better. This is for trumpet players who want to play their best. They have a drive to do better than average, better than just mediocre. Okay? Because if you don't really have that kind of desire, the stuff that I'm saying doesn't apply to you. All right, so now let's move on. We're going to count down backwards from 5. The 5th most important reason why you need trumpet lessons is because the sound that you get on YouTube is not a real trumpet sound. There are limitations in recording technology, and whether it's done on a phone or a professional setup, none of it's real. And that's an issue because of the way we learn how to play music. We hear it first and then we try to play it. We emulate what we hear. And if all you ever hear is something through a microphone, through the speaker, you are not getting a real trumpet sound. And it's, like I said, it's true for both just on the phone or recording equipment, genuine professional recording equipment. And so the thing is when we're in lessons and we hear our teacher play, that sound coming out of the bell is going to bounce off the walls. It's going to bounce off the floor. It's going to bounce off the ceiling and any stands or furniture in the room. And that creates a 3-dimensional sound. That's why we have 2 ears, so that we hear in 3 dimensions. All right? And there's aspects of the sound that you will never hear, and for that matter, never feel, by watching a YouTube video. You know, in this regard, I think practicing duets in the lesson with your teacher is one of the most important things you can do. Think about it. If that sound is 3-dimensional, bouncing off of all the surfaces, and then you have your sound bouncing off all of the surfaces with the same music that the teacher is playing, the potential for growth there is unequal for anything else. I like to think of it as sort of like you could take a hose and suck all the information out of your teacher's brain from your teacher into you. That's sort of how it works when you play duets. There's a transference of not information, but musical knowledge on a subconscious level. And in that regard, it's so extremely important. I think duets are probably one of the most important things students can do in the lessons because of that transference of musical information. Okay, so number 4, the 4th most important reason why you need to take trumpet lessons is because of the tradition and the culture of trumpet lessons. Think of music lessons as a rocket. You have booster stages, and then you have at the top, you have the payload. If you take lessons with me, for example, you are the payload. The teachers that came before me are the boosters, and I'm going to be the final booster pushing you as far as you can go. And there's power in that. That's how you get to the moon. That's how you go into space. It's powerful. And this kind of teaching is a powerful, powerful kind of teaching. When you rest on the wisdom of the people who came before you, you don't have to reinvent everything yourself. I was fortunate to take lessons for 7 different long-term teachers. I took lessons from 7 different long-term teachers. And in that way, I was blessed because I got a huge sampling of different ideas and different ways of teaching. And because of that, the lineage, that rocket lineage that I've got, it covers a wide range of famous and important teachers that indirectly have been handed down information and musical knowledge to me. My job as a teacher is to now pass that on to you. And that's a very important part of it. Okay, moving on. Now we're going to talk about the third most important reason why you need trumpet lessons. And that's the human connection. I believe that even the worst lesson that you take is worth 1,000 videos. More valuable than 1,000 videos. You know, and one way that we can look at that is, looking at performances. Imagine a student, and this is kind of true in life in general. I don't think it's just a trumpet problem. The younger generations today have never really played outside. Everything is in their devices, right? Their noses are in their devices. Their idea of playing is playing a game on their phone. And that sounds like an exaggeration, but for a lot of students, that's not an exaggeration. All right? That human connection is missing. And it's just as true if all of your progress on the trumpet comes from YouTube videos and websites and chat forums and stuff like that. You're missing the whole point of music. Music is a human connection medium. And just look at it this way. If you want to perform, and I would assume that you do want to perform, otherwise why are you playing trumpet? It's not like solitaire. Trumpet is not a solitaire instrument. Trumpet is meant for being out in public, doing stuff. So if you want to perform, and you can't even go once a week to a trumpet teacher and show him what you're doing, how do you expect to perform well in public? Now think about that. When you have good lessons, you're taking lessons with someone who's way better than you, who's got decades of experience more than you do. You're looking at someone who has been taught by other people, not just how to play their trumpet, but how to teach the trumpet. Okay, and this trumpet teacher is going to look at you in your lesson and say, you know what, this, and this are not going well, and this is what I want you to do about it. He's going to give you assignments, you're going to go practice, and you're going to come the next week and you're going to play for him those things that he assigned you. In person. All right? If you can do that, you can stand in public and do stuff. Then that's just one example. I don't have time to go into more of it, but there is a human connection. If you're just playing the trumpet and not making some kind of connection with the audience, you want to take a second look at what it is you're doing. What is the whole point of what you're doing with this instrument? Is it just self-gratification? Is it just, think about it. If you take the human element out of it, it's kind of a pointless activity. All right, now the second most important reason why you need a trumpet teacher is because lessons are about guidance, not information. Yes, YouTube has plenty of information, and if that's all it was, if that's all we had to offer, then I would say no, don't take lessons. It's a waste of money. Because an hour worth of information for $65, or go to YouTube, I'd say go to YouTube. No, it's not about information. It's about guidance. It's about having someone evaluate you. Now, we want to have self-evaluation, but that's long in the making. What we need now at an earlier stage in your development is someone to evaluate you and what your strengths and weaknesses are, so that you know what to work on. That's very important, because if you work on the wrong stuff, you won't be successful, because your weaknesses will hold you back. So what the teacher does for you is help you decide what information out there is appropriate for you, because I promise you, not all of it is appropriate. So, just looking at embouchure types. When we talk about embouchure, I think it's wrong to look for an embouchure like you're reading through a clothing catalog or something. Oh, let me try this embouchure today, or let me try that embouchure today. That's not how it should be, and I know that a lot of people do it that way. It's wrong. There's nothing you can gain from that. The concept should be that you're looking for your best embouchure. So, and just that in and of itself, the change in attitude, should be something that your teacher helps you with. Right? Now, getting more specific, I think that the embouchure that you have is already there. The embouchure that is best for you is already within your ability. I like to think of it as a sculpture, right? You start off with a stone, and you chip away at that stone until you get to that piece of art inside. That's how the embouchure is. You chip away at this, and you chip away at that, and you chip away at this, until what you have left is your embouchure, and you didn't buy it in some catalog. You didn't try this and try that and try this and try that. Oh, I used this embouchure. Oh, I used that embouchure. That's not your embouchure, and you're never going to play as well as you could play using somebody else's embouchure. Okay? And that's what the job of the teacher is to help you find your embouchure. And it's not just physical stuff either. The guidance, there's so many things that we do in the lessons that have nothing to do with the physical stuff. And if you get your head wrong, you end up doing it wrong just because you're thinking of it wrong. Which brings me to number one. The number one reason why you need trumpet lessons is because you want to prevent disaster, not fix it afterwards. You want to prevent blowing your lip out instead of having to come to the teacher and ask him to fix your lip after you've messed it up. And it's not just chops. Some people consider me a chop doctor because I am good at helping people with their chops. I do it in a non-conventional way, but the way I do it works, and it works very well. But there are some people who I can't help. But anyway, so it's not just chops either. The way you think can be wrong enough to end your career just as bad as any blowing your chops out can. You can think so badly that you'll be unable to play your instrument. I've seen it. I'm talking about this stuff from my personal experience. I've seen this stuff as a teacher I've been teaching since 1980. And you can't believe some of the bad stuff I've seen from people who weren't careful. You know, I have a student right now, and I'm not going to mention names, and I'm going to change the story a little bit so that I'm not talking about him or the person who gave him the advice, okay? So let's say it's a little bit hypothetical, but based on a real story, a current story. I have a student right now who started about a year ago, and then he had to stop taking lessons because of money problems. And he ended up, during that time, getting bad information from somebody on YouTube. And it messed him up so badly that he's in danger of losing his entire career. He may have blown his lip out. And you know, this whole blow your lip out thing, I think a lot of people say that and don't really know what they're talking about. Medically, there's only a couple things that could really happen. And most of the time when people say they blew their lip out, that never really happened. Okay? So it's actually very rare for someone to blow their lip out. Compared, you know, so I'd say less than 1% of my students, far less than 1% of my students have ever had blown their lip out. The one of them was an adult, a professional player who came to me, and he was beyond my help. If you have that kind of damage, there's nothing I can do for you. And then the other one is, I'm not sure yet, because we still have some things to work through, but I think it's possible that this student I'm talking about now may have gone over that edge. And he may have blown his lip out. And it's all because of advice he got on YouTube. And I want to ask you to ask yourself, is that worth it to you? Are you willing to play that game? Are you willing to take that kind of chance that it would end your whole trumpet playing career because of one bad piece of advice? I don't mind being the one to clean up somebody else's mess. I do it well, and I take pride in the fact that I can do it. But I would much rather not have to do that. And if I can help you at all right now, it would be to give you that advice. Take lessons now so that you don't damage yourself and have to come take lessons later when it's desperate. And like I said, it's not just about the chops. The chops is just prominent because so many people get suckered into that high note stuff. And the damage that you can do with that can be career ending. So I want you to take that part of it very seriously. And you know what? Talking about the high note guys, there's this thing that I call the musical sales pyramid. And basically what it is at the very top of the pyramid are the best players in the world, right? How many of there are those? When you compare to the people at the bottom, the beginners and the people who aren't very good. There's millions of those, maybe hundreds of the people that are at the very top. And so it's a pyramid. And here's the thing. We sell most to the people at the bottom. The majority of the money made in the music industry in terms of, you know, method books and music and sheet music and stuff like that, the majority of that is purchased by the people at the bottom because there's just so many of them there. And I really believe that, and they may not be doing it on purpose, but I really believe that a lot of the high note guys are taking advantage of the masses of people at the bottom. They're appealing to the people who are uneducated, have no skill, have hit a brick wall in their progress. And they're appealing to those guys. The people who are better laugh at those guys. The better players laugh at them. Okay? The high note guys are, to the people from the middle of the pyramid up, the high note guys are a joke. And I don't mean everybody who can play high. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the people who are trying to, in the YouTube world, it's the guys who are trying to get more views, more subscribers, and get you to buy their products. They're selling to that bottom part of the pyramid. You know they're not selling to the top. And I want you to think about that in the context of because, you know, we're talking about this because the high note guys are the ones that will goad you into doing some of this stuff that will hurt your chops. And you want to avoid that. So I want you to look at the high note guys from a different perspective. They're selling to the lowest common denominator. And if you just happen to be one of those in the lowest common denominator, you want to really take a step back and look at what you're doing. Be careful. Be very, very careful. And you know what? This is about why do you need lessons? You need lessons to help you see through the high note guys. You need lessons to help you get grounded so that you can make real progress. You know, real progress is not how high you can play. I don't know if I said this in this video so far yet, but there's a lot of people out there who believe that if you can play high, that means you've got great chops. And if you've got great chops, then you are automatically a great player. And I'll tell you what, there's a lot of people who can play high with horrible chops. So that's false logic. That's bad logic. All right? And that's part of the reason why we need to have a trumpet teacher, is to help us avoid the damage that the high note guys will do to your playing. Not just physically, but also up here. You can, and actually here too. Part of the job of the trumpet teacher is to help get you pointed in the right direction with your mind, with your heart, and with your chops. It's a very important part of the teacher's job. And so anyway, I want you to think about that part of it. We've got 5 reasons now why you should take trumpet lessons. Number 5 is the sound quality on the recordings. Number 4 is the tradition of trumpet lessons. Number 3 is that human connection. Number 2 is for guidance. And number 1, the most important reason, is to avoid disaster before it happens. God bless you guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have questions, please ask down below. And if you have comments or hate mail, you can put those down there too. And we'll see you on the next video. God bless you.